More to do with Brexit in 2019, what's happening. This is part 2. As you can see here, there's another thing on the TV. Stop Tories Brexit free movement for all. So there's something else about it. I had to do another video. I've done part 1. So they're trying to stop Tories. As you can see here, this may be a short video for the second one. The first one, Labour. So we've got Labour in there as well. The Conservatives were in there, I think. So I reckon Labour should just get out the party. Jeremy Corbyn needs to go, I think. It's ridiculous. We don't need Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party anymore. Conservatives, I think, have got this. The way the country is going at the moment, it's going a bit silly or anything, or follow things like this, fair enough. But I always want to know what is going on in my own country, because I'm British. I'm from the UK. I was born here. I want to see what is going on in my country. And then they show other countries what is going on in the world and what affects. All I want to know is what is going on in the UK, not on any other country. But Sky News shows all sorts of countries what things are going on the TV. Like everything, like, I don't know, could be all day going for a list of things, thinking about stuff. It is kind of getting beyond a joke. As you can see there, there's police vans and police down there in London. So, well, the thing is, they should have said, we'll leave with a deal. Then it wouldn't have this problem, these people here. But now they've messed it up and said, well, we're not leaving with a deal. Because people won't back the deal. People think it's silly to just leave the EU with no deal. And then you get people saying, oh, well, that sort of £39 billion that we're supposed to be paying the EU to withdraw or get out of the EU. It's ridiculous, man. They need to come up with a solution. I keep saying this, but they do. As people are just going to get fed up and keep rioting all the time and thinking, the country's shit and stuff, which it is. People in France are rioting, people around the world are rioting. They're getting sick of the country in the way it is because no one's listening to them. They need a voice to be heard. But no one's giving them that voice to be heard or anything. They're just treating people like shit all the while. Pardon my language though, but this is how this world's getting to. People just don't want to be listening to anybody in the world. And that's very sad and disappointing if that is the case. So this is why all these people are marching down here and telling everybody we've had enough. We're making ourselves known here and we're making a stand here. If you don't like it, then you know where the door is. So the police, I don't think, are going to be able to control all these people. There's just so many people. The police are going to be outnumbered. Bloody ridiculous, man. This could have been avoided with all these people if they would have said no deal. It wouldn't have been protesting like this. But now we've been betrayed, and most of the country is not listening. This is what happens. This is what conflicts and happens after. Because people didn't want to listen. People wanted to do what they wanted to do. The MPs and the Tories thought, yeah, we'll just cancel Brexit. They didn't think about this, did they? People were going to start protesting and marching down London or France or whatever. See, people always seem to do things without thinking, and they wonder why people get annoyed and angry. Because, look, as you can see here, Britain has changed its mind again. It's coming back with this again, which is kind of annoying, really. This country was a great country, which it still is. It's just the people that are in the country that are ruining it for everybody else. Fingers crossed by Monday Theresa May will get a deal through. If she doesn't, then the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, will love that. It'll be like, well, we're staying in the EU. See the Labour, they should just demolish the Labour Party. Then you get the ERG, then you get the Remainers, and oh God, the list never ends. They wonder why people get angry in the world and fed up. If people listened to one another and communicated with one another, see all these people on here on the road in London and near Parliament and protesting, this wouldn't happen. People would be able to trust the Parliament and everybody else. But it's like nobody seems to trust anybody in the world these days, which is a very bad shame, in my opinion. Country we're living in is diabolical. And then you get people saying Britain's a laughingstock, which some people wouldn't agree with. Ridiculous. People have gone out their time and effort and space just to do this today, which they could have been doing other things, but nobody wanted to listen to the people, so they thought, well, if they don't want to listen to us, we're going to make them listen. Like, say, positive attitude. And I totally agree. Why should we stay in the EU, which we have done since the Second World War, but we want to leave? If it's better for the country, why don't we leave? Why are they so scared of leaving? That's what I'm angry. Sorry for getting a bit angry with this, guys. This is what I'm trying to say. It says here, put it to the people, which have already had a second referendum. Why do you want to put it to the people again? Sign up at people. That seems very stupid as well. That's probably why a lot of other people are getting annoyed, because nobody wants a second referendum. I mean, Jeremy Corbyn wants a second referendum, which is stupid, really, because he's Labour. Theresa May doesn't want that, and it's betraying the people to asking the people for a second vote. No. Then putting Article 50 on, that's taking the piss as well. As you guys can all see, that's why all these people are in this place at this time today. They want their voices to be heard. I mean, does people have to keep doing this every time just to get the voices to be heard, to just go in groups like this? Because the world doesn't want to listen. And call bloody blimey. See, we've gone halfway through this video. See, the video was to there, to there. God, the world we're living in. The world is crazy. Filled with crazy people. And then they say people thought I was crazy, but yeah. I think we've near enough gone through all this on here, so we're going to go to the next video, I think. If that's okay with you guys. I'm going to go into here.
Back to this part of the world, hundreds of thousands of people are gathering in London to call for a second referendum on Brexit. Organizers are hoping to convince
just 2 hours ago
to back a new public vote on whether Britain should follow through on plans to leave the European Union. The march is due to conclude outside Parliament, which has so far failed to agree on a formal exit deal with the bloc. Earlier this week, Prime Minister Theresa May...
I know the guy's speaking in American, but he's talking about the UK Brexit.
Hoping to allow Parliament time to pass a deal. And in London, our correspondent Charlotte Fox is standing by.
Camera's all a mess.
What's going on where you are?
So people have been gathering here in central London carrying European and UK flags basically from all over the country. 200 buses arrived from the Scottish Highlands up to Wales and from Cornwall and from all London neighbourhoods. Organizers are actually expecting up to 1 million people joining this march to here in London today. And the number one demand is of the protesters today that they are demanding a second vote, a second referendum. They want to put it back to the people, and they want to vote on whether to accept May's deal that she negotiated in Brussels over the past month, or any kind of deal for that matter. And they want to vote on whether the UK should actually indeed stay in the European Union.
No, we want to leave the EU. We made this clear.
Today, the people that I've talked to have been telling me, stop the Brexit madness.
Got the
and that
bloody...
is on everybody's mind. People are angry at politicians and the government for wasting 2 years with these negotiations. They are tired of the political process, and they are hoping that a second referendum could be the #1 solution here.
We've all been looking into crystal balls for months now. I'm going to ask you to do the same in this moment. How likely is a second referendum to happen?
And it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, certainly this march is going to send some visuals to Parliament, some strong images. Senior MPs from the Labour Party are marching here next to celebrities, young and old, people from all walks of life. Also, there is a petition that is demanding to revoke Article 50 and for the UK to stay in the European Union that has gained incredible traction online, over 4 million signatures so far, so that is hard to ignore. But we also have to remember that the UK is in absolute political turmoil at the moment. May has just returned from Brussels. The EU has allowed to extend the deadline for the UK leaving the European Union until April 12th, or even later if May gets her deal through Congress, through Parliament.
How's it going, bro?
But the problem is that
welcome to this short video on my phone, but for like the gaming, as one would say.
Because she knows that the chances are so slim. Also within the Tory party, criticism is rising against Theresa May for her to step down as Prime Minister. So again, there's no clear path forward, and so this is what protesters are demanding today. They are demanding a second referendum, and are hoping that that will be the solution to the political turmoil.
Nobody wants a second referendum, though. That's the thing.
DW Charlotte Potts in London for us. Charlotte, thanks so much.
I mean, that is just pathetic, that is. Now I'm just trying to find something else to put on. Nobody wants a second referendum in that news, man. Today's news, which is kind of annoying. It's just irritating. Trying to find Sky News today. Right. Sky News today. Talking about Sky News. Got the weather on Sky News, as you can see. It's what the weather's going to be like mostly in the UK anyway. I'm sick of this Brexit thing as well. I think most people are, though, but it's the way the world is, I think. Filming on my phone, yeah. It's like a big giant globe of world. I mean, who in the right minds would want a second referendum when we've already made our minds up? Crazy, man. It's hard to get all the bloody thing into this phone, I tell you. Trying to get all the bloody... I mean, why do they make the writing so big on the screen, man? Look, you've got half a bloody video.
Welcome back. This is Sky News. The top stories this hour. A reported million demonstrators have taken to the streets of London to demand a second referendum on Brexit. US-backed forces declare IS totally eliminated from the Syrian territories as its final stronghold falls. And in the US, Congress waits to receive the main findings from Robert Mueller's long-awaited investigation. Well, staying with the Mueller report, joining me from Washington is Niall Stanage, the associate editor of the political newspaper The Hill. Thanks very much for joining us, Niall. Of course, this has been long awaited, not least because of all the build-up up until this point, with lots of people being convicted for suspected collusion, although no convictions as yet. There is some potential, though, that if, once we see the findings of this report, that the president could be impeached.
There is. I mean, that's obviously at the extreme end of of the spectrum of things that might happen. But yes, that's indeed the case. What we know is that there are going to be no new indictments in the report, but that does not necessarily protect President Trump because, of course, a sitting president is not normally indicted. If Robert Mueller believes he has found incriminating information about President Trump, typically that information would then be passed to Congress and to Congress as to weigh whether to impeach and ultimately remove the president from office.
Doesn't mean Donald Trump's out of the woods, though, does it?
No, certainly not. I mean, even if that scenario doesn't unfold, there is obviously the potential for very serious political embarrassment here. We don't know, obviously, exactly what Mueller has uncovered, but the idea that there could be dodgy dealings that don't rise to the level of criminality is a completely plausible one. Mr. Mueller is expected to outline his reasons for prosecuting the people he has prosecuted and declining to prosecute others. In the process of explaining why he may not be prosecuting others, there is still the potential for landmines to go off for the Trump administration.
But do the normal rules of sort of political embarrassment apply when it comes to Donald Trump? Because it does seem as though anything can
White
go,
House
and
next
he just shrugs it off. I mean, this is the point in case this weekend, this huge long-awaited report, and he's gone golfing.
Yes, I mean, he seems to be keeping an unusually low profile. Has been staying off Twitter as well, although we don't know how long that ever lasts. I think you are right to point out that he does have this unusual capacity to prevail through controversies that would sink other political candidates or even other presidents. But I do think the intensity of this is different. This is ratcheted up to a new level. It's difficult, perhaps, to an audience outside the United States, just how huge a story this is, how much it is consuming all of the oxygen in the news arena.
And just give us a sense of that, because there are, of course, die-hard Trump fans whose views, I presume, if he's completely exonerated from this, will just entrench that support further. And the coverage, obviously, likely to be so sort of key in the days to come, as soon as Congress get their hands on the report.
That's exactly right, and I think everyone's seeing what they want to see to a certain degree at this point. The Trump supporters, noting these lack of new indictments, are ready to declare the whole thing a witch hunt, as the president famously declares it over and over again. Critics of the president and other more centrist figures, noting the number of people who have been indicted. That includes 6 former Trump confidants or aides, and we don't know yet what is still to come when we finally do see some form of this report.
And just give us a sense of the timeline then, because this has gone to the Attorney General. He will be giving what highlights or all of it to Congress, and whether or not any of it will ever become public remains to be seen. Is that right?
I think the political pressure for some of it to become public would be irresistible. The Attorney General had been rumoured to be able to provide the summary to Congress today. We've learned just within the past hour that that won't be happening today, but people will be on pins and needles tomorrow to see what's going to come out.
Niall Stanage, thanks very much.
Thanks, Isabel.
Now, aid workers are trying to get food to tens of thousands of people in parts of southern Africa who've been left with nothing following Cyclone Idai. Villages have been flattened in huge parts of Mozambique, Zimbabwe and Malawi. now look like rivers. Well, the cyclone hit in Mozambique just over 1 week ago.
Terrible news in Africa as well.
732 people have died in, as I say, Mozambique, Malawi and Zimbabwe. Well, in Mozambique alone, 600,000 are in need of aid, and over 15,000 people are still missing. Well, one of the hardest hit regions in the country is Beira.
15,000 people are still missing in Africa.
John Sparks was on an aid flight from the city into the flooded expanses inland and sent this report.
Aid workers and emergency responders know what to do when hundreds of thousands of people are in need. The problem in Mozambique is getting the aid to the people who need it. Sky News boarded a Soviet-era helicopter chartered by the World Food Programme. Its Ukrainian crew taking family-sized tents and survival meals to a town called Namatanda.
At least the British are helping out to deliver stuff to the other countries of Africa who needing food and aid and water.
5 days of torrential rain. There's a lot of water down there, and there's rain in front of us. And the pilot, well, he's trying to fly us around the clouds. The weather wasn't the only complication. We were traveling to a remote community, and the pilots couldn't find it. The floodwaters had swallowed up the landmarks on their maps. We can't find the drum site. We're not really sure where they're going. With fuel running low, the crew had little choice. They decided to return to base. Difficult, isn't it? Yeah.
Just, we're waiting the new coordinate and we'll go again.
Then we'll go. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to go again. Equipped with a new set of coordinates, we flew once more for Namatanda, and this time we found it. A handful of residents signaling from the landing zone. And by the time we touched down, thousands had arrived to greet us. This, the first aid delivery to reach the town.
We're in a really bad situation. We don't have anything to cover us, and everything's in water, including our food.
Our helicopter was swiftly unloaded in front of a large and expectant audience. But our cargo was grossly inadequate. More than 10,000 families in this district have lost their homes.
When was the last time you had a proper meal?
Last week.
Last week?
Yes.
Okay, are people getting angry? Are they getting frustrated?
They're angry and they're disappointed. There's no hope for them.
The man who runs this district told me he was feeling the pressure. He simply can't meet the people's basic needs.
Is this enough, or do you need more help?
We need more, because we're not talking only about these residents, but everybody in the district. There are people in other areas we still can't reach. We can't bring them food by car.
They've unloaded everything in about 10 minutes, not very long, and we've got to go. These guys have got another mission to do, and we'll leave these people behind. I don't think they want us to go.
This is not the best way to deliver aid. Lorries carry much more cargo, but in flood-hit Mozambique, it's the best way, and the only way to keep people alive. John Sparks, Sky News, Mozambique.
Now, scientists are building 3D baby hearts, which they hope can improve treatment for newborns with heart conditions. Pregnant mums are scanned so researchers can take an image of the organ from the womb. Sky's Dan Whitehead reports.
2-year-old Stanley seems as healthy as any other toddler. He's one of thousands of children in the UK who are born with a congenital heart defect every year. That condition was spotted during his mum's 20-week scan. The full severity wasn't known until he was born.
From the 20-week scan and subsequent scans from there, they said that he should be okay from birth. They thought probably until he's about 6 months, and they'd look at doing his main surgery. But obviously when he was born, they did another scan straight away, and yeah, things weren't quite as
No, not quite as straightforward as I think,
No.
and there was a few other, or the abnormalities of his heart were more severe than they expected.
Stanley's diagnosis may have been helped by a new technique developed by scientists from King's College London and Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital. They've devised a way to check on the health of a baby's heart while still in the womb. Using specialist computer software alongside MRI scans, doctors can now create an exact 3D image of a tiny beating heart. They say it'll allow them to better detect abnormalities and, in turn, speed up treatment.
That's really a lot of worry and uncertainty for the parents. And what we try to do is, if we know exactly what's going on, we can actually get them to see the surgeon, the intensive care, all of the things that are going to happen after birth, before birth, so that they have time to adapt and think about it. So the really good thing is, these scans allow us to have all of that information and really prepare them.
According to the British Heart Foundation, around 12 babies are diagnosed with a heart defect at birth every day in the UK. It says up to 2% of the population may be affected. Thanks to research, 8 out of 10 babies with heart problems now survive to adulthood. Doctors hope this new way of scanning a baby's heart could help around 1,000 babies every single year, providing them with the right treatment at the earliest stage possible. Dan Whitehead, Sky News, in Frome, Somerset.
This is Sky News. Coming up, how Saracens kept the pressure on at the top of rugby's Premiership.
Hi, I'm Hannah Stott with the latest showbiz news. A warning, some flash photography is coming up. Chinese pianist Lang Lang.
The screen's gone all black.
Celebrate the museum's bicentenary. The pianist performed 3 pieces on a grand piano. Donny and Marie Osmond say they will end their Las Vegas show later this year, concluding an 11-year run on the Strip. The brother and sister duo's final performance at the Flamingo Las Vegas is scheduled for November the 16th. They launched their residency in September 2008, planning for just a 6-week concert engagement. And British comedy Only Fools and Horses ran for decades, drew the biggest home audience yet for a TV episode, and has now smashed box office records with a West End musical version. Much has changed in Britain since Del Boy Trotter and his younger brother Rodney sold their dubious goods out of their living room in the 1980s and 1990s. The musical is the work of the TV series' original creator, John Sullivan's son, Jim, who teamed up with actor and writer Paul Whitehouse.
The state of the world and the state of Great Britain at the moment, we're in an incredibly polarised situation. So it's quite nice sometimes to go back and look at things with rose-tinted glasses. And, you know, simplistically, you could say, oh, they were simpler, much better times. That's not the case at all. But it's fun. It's a musical. It's based on one of the best comedies ever written.
Bob's your uncle. Christy. What's a plonker? What the hell? Lovely jubbly.
Russian March. There's a sun. Or the moon.
Let's catch up with Bella now at Sky Sports Centre. She's got an update for us.
Thank you. Good evening. Republic of Ireland are playing Gibraltar in their opening European 2020 qualifying match. It's the last few seconds, actually, of added time.
I'm not really a football person, as you guys know.
First game back in charge.
Going into football or rugby or
Jeff Hendricks scored for the Republic of
badminton
Ireland
or cricket.
4 minutes into the second half, so 1-0 to the Republic of Ireland. You can catch up on Sky Sports main event. Now also in the Republic of Ireland's group are Switzerland. They've beaten Georgia in their opening qualifier by 2 goals to 0. Stuttgart's Steven Zuber gave them the lead. Their second came from Denis Zakaria. Problems for Wales ahead of their Euro 2020 opener against Slovakia. Aaron Ramsey will miss the match tomorrow with a thigh injury. Gareth Bale didn't feature in their friendly against Trinidad and Tobago earlier this week, but he was in training today.
It's obviously a blow, especially the form that he's been on and the quality that Aaron's got. So, yeah, he's not made it, but obviously that gives a chance for someone else. Yeah, he gave it a try yesterday, and it just wasn't settling down as quick as we thought. So, yeah, he gave it a try, but it was just too short a turnaround, really.
Scotland will look to bounce back from defeat to Kazakhstan with victory against San Marino also tomorrow. Manager Alex McLeish admits that defeat has put Scotland under extra pressure.
I don't see any reason why we can't make it better in the second game. And you know, it's a long process. You know, the group stage, the first game is over. We didn't do it. All is not lost. Believe me, there'll be other trip ups in this group stage.
No football in the Premier League or Championship due to the international matches, but it's been business as usual in League One. Top of the table, Luton Town beat Doncaster 4-0. Luke Berry sealed the win in stoppage time. A last-minute goal from Jacob Brown helped Barnsley to a 1-0 win at Walsall. They remain 5 points behind Luton in the table. Former Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho is targeting a return to management in the summer. Mourinho says he's already turned down a number of offers, but is waiting for the right opportunity.
I know exactly what I don't want. That's the reason why I had to say already to 3 or 4 different offers. I had to say no, and I know what I want.
Rugby now, and Saracens have taken a big step towards getting a home semi-final in the Premiership playoffs after beating Harlequins 27-20 points at Allianz Park. Quins were on top in the first half and got the game's first try when fly-half Marcus Smith broke through Saracens' defence line. Quins got a second through Danny Kerr. They led 17-6 at half-time. Saracens hit back quickly after the break through Skalkberger. Will Skelton then put them ahead for the first time in the match. And Skelton got another to seal the win. The try awarded after consultation with the TMO. Saracens stay second with the win, while Quins drop to 4th. Worcester beat Bristol 27-25. Gloucester beat Wasps 27-14. And it's 16-10, Newcastle leading against Sale. Ospreys beat the Dragons in the Pro 14 to end a run of 6 straight defeats. Fullback Dan Evans scored all 4 of the Ospreys' tries. It's 6 losses in a row now for the Dragons. They remain bottom of Conference B. Cricket now in England, all-rounder Moeen Ali made a disappointing start in the opening match of this year's Indian Premier League. He made just 9 for Royal Challengers Bangalore in their game against the defending champions Chennai Super Kings. He was one of 3 wickets for Harbhajan Singh. The Super Kings needed just 71 to win. They reached their target with more than 3 overs to spare to win by 7 wickets. In the Gymnastics All-Round World Cup, Great Britain's Jo Fraser missed out on a medal by just half a point. Fraser's strongest performance came on the horizontal bar, where he scored 13.9 points. Russian Nikita Nagorny took gold. The women's all-round event is currently underway, with Great Britain's Ellie Downey competing. World gymnastics superstar Simone Biles was also in action over at the O2 Arena as part of the new Sky Sports gymnastics show. The American opened the show with her floor routine. Some of her best moves were on display, proving just why she's 14-time world champion. French driver Jean-Eric Vergnes won Sanya Ypres in China to become the 6th different winner in as many races in the Formula E this season. Verne, in the gold car here, took the lead with 21 minutes to go, overtaking Oliver Rowland to turn 11. Rowland held on to finish, while Antonio Felix da Costa was third. Da Costa now leads the championship with a 3-point lead over Belgium's Jerome D'Ambrosio. Moreover, on Sky Sports News, we're back with Sportsline at 7:30.
Thanks, Bella. I want to bring you some breaking news now from the North Sea, and there are reports this evening that 8 people have been in, as over 100 passengers are being evacuated from a stranded cruise ship. These are the latest pictures coming into us at Sky News Centre. As you can see, very rough seas. It's a notorious strip of sea, very shallow, lots of reefs in the area. Engine failure caused this Viking Sky ship to get into difficulties. 100 people, as I say, have been evacuated, but over 1,000 remain on board that ship. We're hearing so far that passengers have been hoisted one by one from the deck of the vessel and airlifted to a village just north of the town of Molde on Norway's west coast. This is according to Reuters this evening. We also understand that 2 purpose-built vessels operated by the Norwegian Society for Sea Rescue have been forced to turn back due to the severe weather. So they're going to continue with those evacuations overnight. Waves of up to 8 metres battling them there. It is an ongoing situation. We will keep you posted on developments there.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Much calmer weather here. For many, the fine weather will continue into tomorrow with warm sunny spells, but there will be further blustery showers in the northwest. This evening, though, most places will be dry, apart from a scattering of showers in northwest Scotland and some outbreaks of drizzly rain in southern counties of Britain. Thicker cloud and drizzle will clear southern England and Wales to leave a largely dry night with clear spells. However, increasingly blustery and wintry showers will affect northwest Scotland.
I find the weather quite boring on the channel.
Coastal gales and heavy showers will affect much of Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland on Sunday, making it feel cold.
The weather, sponsored.
Fruit-throwing oranges. It really annoys me when on the Sky News when they just deliberately put this globe up. You got to watch the globe, then you got to watch the globe again, then they put the sport news on. It's like they're cutting through news and then they can't be bothered. That's what it feels like, anyway. Well, you've seen this globe once already. You'll see it again. It tells you what's going on in other countries as well. planet of the Earth. How's it going, bro? Sky News again. It takes you for all this again. I mean, there's just so many adverts on news, isn't there? Every time.
This is Sky News at 7, our top stories. Demanding their voices be heard, as many as 1 million people take to the streets of London calling for a second EU referendum. The battle for Baghouz is over. US-backed forces say the Islamic State is all but gone from Syria.
This is a significant victory for the Syrian Democratic Forces, and it has taken a long time in coming. But although IS is defeated on the battlefield, this isn't the end of the group.
Ship adrift. Rescue crews begin airlifting passengers from a stranded vessel off the coast of Norway. Par for the course, President Trump heads for a round of golf as pressure grows to make the findings of the Russia report public. Building a baby's heart outside the womb, how doctors hope to use 3D technology to help improve treatment for newborns. Very good evening. Their message is put it to the people, and today tens of thousands of demonstrators took that sentiment to the streets of London. Organisers claim 1 million anti-Brexit protesters joined the march in the centre of the capital, many calling for a second EU referendum. While Leave campaigners used the day to spread their pro-Brexit message too via a march near Nottingham. Meanwhile, it's thought the Prime Minister has spent the weekend in at her country residence, Chequers, after telling MPs they may not be voting on her deal for a third time if it doesn't have enough support. Our Home editor, Jason Farrell, reports from the march in London.
A swarm of bodies filled central London. This, the biggest protest the capital has seen since the rally against the Iraq War. They want another referendum on the UK's decision to leave the EU.
I want Theresa May and the government to see us, to notice us, because she keeps talking about the people have spoken, and I feel completely unlistened to.
This is a divided country. Yeah. One of the ways we could come back together is by having a proper debate about it again. It would lead to more division, another referendum, another big question to the people. I don't think talking about the issues can lead to more division. Talking about it is the way we resolve it in this country, and that's democracy, isn't it? What do you say that 52% of people voted to leave? 52%, what? 8%, you like 52% was sold apart. I didn't know what Brexit was. Even now, no one knows what Brexit is. You haven't worked it out yet? Oh, I've worked it out. It's a mess.
We were supposed to be leaving the EU next Friday, but with Parliament refusing to back the Prime Minister's negotiated withdrawal agreement, uncertainty continues to reign. Next week, MPs are expected to be given the chance to indicate what they think should happen next.
We've already had votes on all of these things. They've all been rejected, all these Norway options, customs union options. We've discussed these things ad nauseam, actually. And at the end of the day, the only votes that matter are the vote of the people to leave in the referendum.
You couldn't imagine Nicola Sturgeon getting this reception in London if she was here to express her views on Scottish independence. Politicians from all spectrums came to the stage, perhaps most significant, Labour's deputy leader, who said he'd support May's deal on one condition.
I can only vote for a deal if you let the people vote on it too.
Tom Watson backing a people's vote when Jeremy Corbyn remains undecided. These protesters know the Labour leader is crucial to achieve their objective.
17 million people voted to leave. It's argued that the 2016 vote was decisive and the will of the people. But there are around about 1 million people who've given up their Saturday, and they've come out to say that they feel that that will may have changed, and they want it put back to the test.
However, in Beeston, a group of pro-Brexit campaigners gathered outside a pub to counter claims that anything had changed in how the British public feels about the EU.
This is now a battle of people versus the politicians. For the first time in the history of our great country, we have a parliament ignoring the will of the people. It's a betrayal, it's a total disgrace.
Both sides agree on one thing: the government has failed. This was the London protesters' reaction as they passed Downing Street. But Theresa May wasn't there. She's in checkers, contemplating her next move, amid speculation that it may be calling time on her leadership if she can't get her deal through next week. Jason Bauer, Sky News.
Speak to our political correspondent Lewis Goodall. He's been out with the marches today and joins us now. Lewis, huge turnout today in central London. We've seen the anti-Brexit petition online exceeding 4 million. There's a lot of hopes and ambitions out there. Is it likely to change anything, or do you think that the Prime Minister in Chequers has got other things on her mind?
Well, she's absolutely got other things on her mind. There's no doubt, I think, that after her torrid last week, and Theresa May's had some torrid weeks in her time as Prime Minister, but the last week really was among the worst. She is contemplating her resignation and what to do if she cannot or will not bring her meaningful vote, her deal back for a third time. So this protest, enormous as it was, really isn't going to change her mind, and it wasn't really intended for her either. I think there is a wide recognition that the strategic objectives of the People's Vote campaign really are aimed foursquare at Jeremy Corbyn and the Labour leadership. This entire huge, the biggest rally that we've seen in central London since the Iraq war protest of 2003 really is directed with the idea of saying to Jeremy Corbyn, many of the people there were Labour voters or indeed Labour members, saying to him very directly, look, at this point, we know that you've had to prevaricate on Europe. We know that you've had to balance the competing interests of the Labour Party and the Labour coalition. But if there is an opportunity at any point over the next week, the next couple of weeks, to break the parliamentary impasse, the parliamentary deadlock with the idea of another referendum, then you must do it, and we expect and demand your support. And that is why Tom Watson, the Deputy Leader, his presence at the protest today was so interesting, saying not just that he would vote, that he supports the idea of another referendum, but that he would give his vote, and with him a whole cadre of other Labour MPs, to the Prime Minister in exchange for her deal, in exchange for that referendum. And that, to me now, if we are looking for a way out of the deadlock that we're in, if I were Theresa May sat at Chequers this weekend, I would be thinking to myself that if I really do believe that my deal were the best thing for the country, it is potentially the only thing left, the only card she would have to play. She might just be able to do it, but it would require an enormous amount of political dexterity and agility on her part, two commodities which she has not shown in great abundance during her time as Prime Minister. One other thought as well. Whatever happens with the Brexit debate, whether we leave, whether we don't leave, the fact of the matter is we could see in that protest today, and we've also seen, in fairness, many other protests from the other side of the debate as well. You saw thousands upon thousands of people there, all sporting European Union flags. Can you imagine, Isabel, anyone in this country having an EU flag before 2016? It has become an emblem of one side of this Brexit culture war, if you like. And even if we leave, even if the Prime Minister, by some miracle, gets her deal through, then frankly the genie is not going back into the bottle. These people, I think, will continue to campaign, and potentially you might even see a sort of reverse UKIP being established, arguing that we should go back into the European Union. So if you think that this argument is going anywhere, I'm afraid you might have another thing coming.
Okay, Lewis, thanks very much indeed. Well, ahead of another huge week, as Lewis was saying, for the Prime Minister and, of course, the country, Brexit will be the focus in tomorrow's Sophie Ridge on Sunday, during which she'll be joined by the Chancellor, Philip Hammond. So do join us for that at 9 a.m. We'll also be taking a first look at the front pages in our press preview tonight at 10:30. We'll have the Times columnist Matthew Saeed and the author Ella Whelan. Now, US-backed Kurdish forces have achieved a significant milestone in the fight against the so-called Islamic State today, declaring the group totally eliminated from the territories that they once held. Well, after weeks of fighting, Syrian Democratic Forces hoisted their yellow flag above Baghouz, the final enclave of resistance in a country once overrun by IS and its regime of terror. Our Middle East correspondent Alex Rossi reports from Baghouz in eastern Syria and saw what IS left in its wake.
We are taken into the Islamic State's last stronghold after a final night of heavy bombardment. This is where the so-called caliphate ended. As we enter the center of Baghouz, the convoy stops. There's still one area of resistance. SDF forces move us back, whilst the last blows are delivered. We're still hearing the sporadic sound of gunfire. The last pocket of IS is just over there. But what we're witnessing are the final moments of the Islamic State. This is a significant victory for the Syrian Democratic Forces, and it has taken a long time in coming. But although IS is defeated on the battlefield, this isn't the end of the group. It's likely now to go underground and fight a guerrilla insurgency. Eventually, guns do fall silent, and we journey into a dark, apocalyptic hellscape. Corpses rotting in the pallid spring sun. The stench is everywhere, blown on the desert wind. It is an unbelievable sight, a wasteland. This is where the Islamic State made its last stand, a junkyard encampment. You can see in the distance bed sheets and cloths that have been erected as tents. There's more over here, and you can see how the fighters were living. There's tunnels and foxholes under here, which would help them evade the bombardment from the coalition jets and artillery. But this is really all that now is left of what once was the Islamic State. For the Kurdish forces, this victory is traced with sadness. Many died as martyrs in what was a global fight. The future of their people is also far from secure. It is why the declaration is a surreal moment. An understated ceremony on a rooftop overlooking the Euphrates River. The commander who led the fight, confirming ISIS's rule is over. The road to the end of the Islamic State is a journey through destroyed communities. Town after battered town tells a story of years of fighting to break the group's poisonous stranglehold on Iraq and Syria. What comes next will depend on whether there can be effective government and how these regions are reconstructed. While searching for ISIS fighters, more often than not, the soldiers tasked with the duty are shooting at shadows. The ghosts of ISIS will haunt these places for a long time to come. The glorious final stand of the group, though, is hugely damaging to its brand. But even with its flag in tatters, it has the resources to rise up from this and strike again. Alex Rossi, Sky News, Baghouz in eastern Syria.
Well, experts have been quick to caution today's victory is not a mission accomplished moment, with reports insurgents are still hiding out in the war-torn country. IS has also managed to export its ideology across the world, so could the group remobilise? Our diplomatic editor, Dominic Waghorn, has more.
Well, Islamic State's self-declared caliphate across Iraq and Syria was about the size of Britain at its peak in 2014, with tens of thousands of fighters, including from the UK, across Europe, and around 10 million people living under its control. Fast forward almost 5 years, and this final stretch of a few hundred metres of physical caliphate in Baghouz has finally fallen to US-backed Syrian forces. It took the largest military coalition in modern history, with the involvement of 79 countries, to defeat IS. The Syrian Democratic Forces say it lost 11,000 soldiers, 21,000 were injured. The battle took 1,737 days. That is 3 months longer than World War I, but it is by no means the end of IS. Tens of thousands of local IS fighters and supporters have simply melted back into their communities in both Iraq and Syria. Bombings and assassinations are on the rise in both countries. While across the world, Islamic State affiliates have been emerging, and then there are the hundreds of British as well as other IS members who have slipped back into the countries they came from or are detained in camps in Syria, still radicalised and still a threat. Finally, IS still has global reach over the internet. Its online activities have been significantly suppressed, but the group remains able to attract new followers and incite violence. Here's my look back on the group's rise and fall. In these filthy foxholes and craters, the Islamic State Caliphate has been crushed. No end of days victory over the armies of the West, instead the death cult's defeat and surrender. Momentous day for all of us threatened by IS and those brave enough to fight them, like British volunteer Mesa Gifford.
To be in this moment, after all these years, to see what ISIS has become, and to see that actually local people came together to destroy them, fills me with great hope for the future.
It has been a titanic struggle against an enemy that showed no mercy and observed no rules. Waged by a coalition of almost 80 countries and lasting more than 4 years, longer than World War I. In a statement this evening, President Trump welcomed the news. While on occasion these cowards will resurface, he warned, they have lost all prestige and power. They are losers and will always be losers. His Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, who's touring the region, gave his reaction.
Our mission there hasn't changed. We still have work to do to make sure that radical Islamic terrorism doesn't continue to grow.
And in London, Downing Street tweeted this on behalf of the Prime Minister. The liberation of the last Daesh-held territory wouldn't have been possible without the immense courage of UK military and our allies. We'll continue to do what is necessary to protect the British people, our allies and partners from the threat Daesh poses. IS pioneered the use of propaganda on social media and plunged new depths of extremism. And attacked Western cities in Paris, Brussels and beyond, luring in hopes the West into an apocalyptic final battle. Instead, the West bombed it from the air, supporting local allies fighting on the ground.
Today, we're gonna fight until we die.
Mosul fell first, but only at huge cost in lives, much of the city destroyed. And in Syria, Raqqa too was finally overrun by Kurdish-led coalition forces. It has now been flushed out from its last pockets of resistance, but analysts warn that is by no means the end of Islamic State.
We're not dealing with a young organisation with no experience. We're dealing with an organisation that has been defeated before and come back to be the most successful terrorist organisation the world has ever seen.
Islamic State's proclaimed caliphate lies in ruins, but its ideology will live on, and its surviving devotees have slipped back into the shadows to fight another day. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News.
A drama is continuing to unfold this evening off the coast of Norway, with hundreds stranded on board a cruise ship that is dead in the water. 1,300 passengers and crew are being evacuated.
Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this 1 hour of my video of Brexit in Sky News. Please like, comment, subscribe, share these videos.